Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Paul Arcario. I am the Provost and the Vice President for Academic Affairs here at LaGuardia Community College. And I want to thank you for joining us today for our virtual forum on vaccinations and returning to campus. We are here to support you, and we know that not all students have gotten vaccinated yet. And we really want to hear your concerns and your questions. We've all been living through this COVID-19 pandemic, and which has no doubt caused much fear and anxiety. And we understand that. And I think, I know I've been experiencing anxiety myself, and I think we all have. So we want to let you know that we're listening to you, and we want to give you a chance to raise your questions. And we want to provide you with some information, some science-based information about vaccinations and why they're being required for you to return to campus if you have an in-person class. So today we're going to talk about the CUNY vaccine mandate. We're going to talk about where to get vaccinated and how you can upload that information. And we'll answer your questions and listen to your concerns as well. I'm very, very grateful to the faculty and staff who have volunteered as panelists today. We have a group of panelists here volunteering their time. And I would like now to take a few minutes for them to introduce themselves to you and tell you about their area of expertise. So before we do anything else, we'll have the panelists introduce themselves. And maybe it would be easier if I just go around in my order, be easier that way. Olga, Professor Olga Calderon.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Olga Calderon, and I am a professor of biology and microbiology. I teach mainly microbiology, and my expertise is researching with microbes, with bacteria.
Thank you. Professor Ana Lucia Fuentes.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this forum. I'm very glad you're all here, and hopefully we'll be able to respond to some of your questions. My area of expertise is cell biology and immunology. I was trained as a virologist, and I teach in the Department of Natural Sciences, where I teach biology.
Thank you. Professor Kathleen Karsten.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kathleen Karsten. I'm a registered nurse, and I am nursing faculty at LaGuardia Community College. I also work at Jamaica Hospital Medical Center, and I would like to share what I know about the vaccine with you and answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Professor Anthony Paratori.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Anthony Paratori, and I've been an adjunct professor in the Natural Sciences Department at LaGuardia Community College since 2012. However, I've been teaching virology at other universities since 2009, and my terminal degree in biology has specialization in microbiology, and I'm excited and hopeful I can answer any questions or concerns that you guys have today.
Thank you. Professor Clarence Chan.
Greetings, everyone. I'm the program director for the Physical Therapist Assistant Program at LaGuardia. I am a physical therapist and also in clinical practice as a clinician as well, and also a volunteer with the New York City Medical Corps. And again, I'm happy to be here and joining my colleagues here, and hopefully we can address some of your questions and concerns.
Thank you. Dr. Shante Bassett.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Shante Bassett, and I am the staff psychologist in the Wellness Center here at LaGuardia Community College, and my area of expertise is trauma.
Thank you. Professor Sultan Jenkins.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Sultan Jenkins. I'm an associate professor in the Natural Sciences Department. I teach mainly human anatomy and physiology, and my field of expertise is molecular genetics.
Thank you. I don't see the camera on, but Professor Sherry Carr, are you there? Hey, hi.
Hey, hi, Paul. Hi, everyone. I am Dr. Sherry Carr. I'm the program director in our philosophy program, and I specialize in medical ethics. So I'm here to answer those questions about what we should do.
Thank you. And our final panelist is Renee Fuzzy-Miller. Hi, Renee.
Hello, everyone. It's working great. I am the director of the Student Health Services Center, and I'm also the campus location vaccine authority, the LVA. And welcome today.
Thank you. Thank you. So we have a lot of expertise here to give you information and answer your questions. And the way we'll do it is we'll have a presentation first, approximately 15 minutes or so. And then we'll open it up for your questions, which you'll be able to type in, and we'll do our best to answer those questions for you. So I'm going to turn it over to Professor Calderon, I believe, is going to start the presentation.
Yes, thank you, Paul. Let me just get my screen, share my screen with you, with everybody. Oops. I think I may have clicked the wrong. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. Let me move this thing over here. Okay, so we thought we'd start with the, okay. We start with a little bit of introduction of how vaccines are made. And there seems to be a lot of hesitancy about getting vaccines because we have this idea that vaccines take a long time, years, 8 to 15 years to be made. And that was true 40, 50 years ago. But after the development of new molecular techniques and bioengineering, we are able to produce vaccines in a shorter period of time. And so the process is still the same. The steps, the stages at which a vaccine is produced. There's research, preclinical preparation, clinical trials of different stages. There's approval from the Food and Drug Administration, and then there's manufacturing, and then distribution of the vaccines. So vaccines could be made from different parts of a pathogen, and they can also be delivered in different ways. The current vaccines that we have for Moderna and Pfizer, they are RNA vaccines, and the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is a DNA vaccine. So again, the way that they can be delivered is different, of course, through injection, but the Johnson & Johnson vaccine uses a vector virus where the DNA has been incorporated, and this is the way that is delivered into your body. So vaccines could be of a whole pathogen, or could be a viral vector, as I just mentioned, could be a subunit vaccine, meaning just a piece of the pathogen, or it could be of nucleic acids. And what we are dealing with the vaccines that we have for COVID are vaccines that are RNA and DNA, meaning nucleic acid vaccines. So again, the process of the vaccine evaluation and the effectiveness, it takes some time. First, we had the preclinical, it takes a few months to do this. And again, thanks to all of the new technologies, it is now taking less time. Also, we were under the pressure of, trying to fight this pathogen that was killing people. So scientists work 24/7 to be able to do this. So we had the phase 1 where only a few individuals are tested. That's after the animal testing. Then in phase 2, we increase the number of individuals that are tested. And in every phase, if we encounter a problem, then we go back and analyze what is it that went wrong. Then we move on again to phase 2, if we need to. Then phase 3, where we test on more individuals. We double the individuals, or now is in the thousands. And that was the case for Moderna and Pfizer. 30,000 people were part of that phase 3 stage. Then the FDA reviews all of the data collected from the study. And if they determine that the vaccine is effective and that is safe, then it's put out and given to people. So we have the 3 types of vaccines available in New York City that are Moderna, Pfizer, and these are RNA encoding particles that they encode for a spike. A spike is like a receptor that attaches to a receptor on the cell that is going to infect. So the RNA codes for that spike to be produced by our cells so that it is recognized by our immune system, and our immune system produce antibodies, these molecules that help us defend against the pathogens. Now, the Johnson & Johnson Janssen vaccine is a DNA encoding a variant of the spike of that protein, and is delivered using a common cold virus. So the DNA is inserted into the common cold virus, and it's safe. Again, all of these processes take time to really determine that they're safe. And so once they get to the public, they have been vetted, they have been through rigorous testing. And so that's where we are right now. They have some inactive ingredients that include things that are not harmful to you. Ethanol, some salts, sugars. They contain a compound that is used in the laxatives that are used for colonoscopies. So another last thing that I wanted to add is that none of these vaccines contain eggs. All vaccines, they are prepared, they were prepared using eggs and other things, but these vaccines, all of the new ones, do not contain latex or eggs or preservatives or any types of metals or residues that could be counterproductive to the patients. And I think Dr. Fuentes is next.
Yeah, so I just want to very, very briefly remind you, for those of you who are not familiar with how the virus that gives us COVID, how it infects our cells. And the reason I'm just going to briefly talk about this is because I want to emphasize that when we talk about vaccines, we are not talking about whole viruses. When we're talking about the whole virus that gives us the disease of COVID, we're talking about a virus that has a lot of elements in it other than just that little spike protein. So the virus, particularly the Delta variant, is very, very contagious because basically it has a very special little spike protein that has been slightly changed through mutations, and it is 1,000 times more effective in infecting our cells. So this spike protein is the protein that is recognized by our cells, but what it allows for is for the whole virus to then come into our cells and basically take over our cells and then release all its genetic material and start producing more and more virus particles. And again, vaccines are not whole virus particles. Vaccines are a tiny, tiny little part of the virus that is basically shown to our bodies and allows our bodies to then recognize it when the actual virus comes into our bodies. Next slide. So what vaccines do is really, they take advantage of this ability of our body to respond to foreign molecules. And basically it trains our body with a molecule that is not induced, it does not produce disease, but it trains our body to recognize it. So normally when you get infected with a virus, what happens is it takes a long time before you can produce these very specific molecules that will recognize the body, because our cells have to be trained. So what a vaccine does, it introduces this little part of the virus and it trains our body so that next time when you actually are exposed to the whole virus, then your body has this memory. It actually can determine that the virus is there, and your immune system, your immune response will trigger all these antibodies to neutralize the virus very, very quickly. So this is how vaccines protect you against disease, by basically presenting your body with a little part of the virus and then training your body. And then when the virus actually comes into your body, then you will not be suffering from the disease, because the antibodies will neutralize the actual infectious viruses. Next slide. So in the case of the mRNA vaccines, so the mRNA technology, as Professor Calderon mentioned, this is a technology that has been around for over 15 years or so. And what it does is it takes just the little part, the message, that's why it's called a messenger RNA, because RNA is a molecule that is used by our cells to basically produce proteins, our own proteins as well. But in this case, what scientists have done is that they've basically cut out just the messenger RNA for just the spike, nothing else, just the spike protein. And they have covered it in a little tiny lipid layer. It's called a liposome, which is a little vesicle made up of lipids, just like our cell membranes. They're made up of lipids. That's why it's good to take biology. And then when they take these little lipid balls and they inject it into our muscle. So because they're like our cells, the membranes, they fuse to your cells, and some of this messenger RNA then will be used by our cells to make the spike protein. And then the spike protein will appear on the surface of those cells. And then your body is going to recognize that little spike protein as not yours, as non-self, and it's going to produce antibodies. And basically, then the whole reaction is just going to go away, because these spike proteins won't go any further. Our cells break down the messenger RNA after quite quickly. And so, but now you have a memory, and that's how vaccines are produced. And this is why vaccines are not infectious agents. They do not produce disease. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Kathleen Karsten. I'm the registered nurse on the panel. So I'd like to talk to you about a little bit about getting the vaccine. So I have the vaccine. I had Pfizer. I had both shots. But we are encouraging you to go out and get the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, because that is only a one-shot vaccination, and that will put you ready in time for the deadline to be vaccinated so you can attend classes in person. So I know some people are a little hesitant because they've heard people had side effects from the vaccine. So the most common side effects are the same side effects that you would get with any injection, pretty much. And it's, pain in the area where you got the injection, some mild swelling in only 10 to 20% of the cases, and maybe some redness. Next slide, Elda. So general side effects that some people started to having were, they seemed like flu-like side effects. Now, as the professor said before, you are not getting COVID because you took the vaccine. These are just side effects. This is your body mounting an immune response against COVID because you have the vaccine now. The vaccine is giving your body a jump start to be immune in case you should come in contact with somebody or exposed to somebody who has COVID. So more general side effects include tiredness, headache, muscle aches, fever in about 10 to 15% of the population, and some nausea. And it is absolutely true that if you got the Moderna or Pfizer vaccine, that the second dose gave you a more pronounced reaction than the first dose. But again, we're encouraging you to go out and get Johnson & Johnson, so it is a one-dose vaccine. Next slide. So I know people read the newspaper and you're on social media and all, you hear about, the side effects, and there's some very easy things that you can do to help you deal with the side effects and stay comfortable. One is to add a cool compress to your arm at the site of the injection. We also recommend that you use your arm, because the more you use your arm, you're using the muscle in your arm, and that is facilitating the absorption of that solution that was injected into your arm. It's always great to drink plenty of fluids, and we recommend taking Tylenol for pain or fever. And rest if you're feeling very tired, because some people also talk about being tired. Most importantly, until you have been 14 days post-vaccination, you should continue to wear your mask indoors in public places and social distance until you are fully vaccinated, which is the 2 weeks post the day you get the vaccine. Next. So we have heard some rare side effects that people are concerned about. Some of it is bleeding. Some people have a severe allergic reaction. Some people ended up having some inflammation of tissue surrounding the heart. Other people developed a syndrome called Guillain-Barré, which is a neuromuscular syndrome, and they had some weakness for a period of time. These side effects happen in less than 0.00007% of the people who have been vaccinated with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. And a lot of these side effects, they're not actually sure that the person didn't have an underlying condition or a predisposition to these conditions prior to getting the vaccine. Next. So some questions that I get about people asking about the vaccine, should I get it? One is, will the vaccine give me COVID? And we've already told you that the vaccine absolutely does not give you COVID. Another question is, people say, I had COVID already, why do I need the vaccine? So if you recovered from COVID, I'm sure you realize how very serious COVID could be. You do need the vaccine because we are not sure that the COVID virus that you experienced was not one of the mutants of the original virus. Okay, the mutation that the professor was talking about. There's a Delta mutation that is really running rampant in New York City. Actually, we're on the decline, so that's good. But the vaccines do cover some of the variants and the mutations of the virus. So people who have COVID are twice as likely to get COVID again from a different variant. However, those people who have had COVID and then get vaccinated, you are in a really good place. It is very unlikely that you will even experience breakthrough COVID. Okay, that comes to the next question. We know people that have been fully vaccinated and they still ended up getting COVID. Why is that? Well, the answer to that question is the question that the answer to the previous question. These viruses mutate and they come up with just a little bit of a different mutation as Delta is. People heard of Lambda, that's one of the variants. There was also a New York City variant for a while. So there's multiple variants, and you can get a variant even if you had been vaccinated previously. However, in most of the cases for people who got breakthrough COVID, which is somebody who's been vaccinated and got it anyway, the symptoms are very mild. They do not require that you need oxygen generally. They do not require that you be hospitalized. Most people who have breakthrough COVID are treated at home and they feel like they have a bad cold or a mild flu. Okay. Another question, some people say, what if I get it and I don't have a reaction? Does that mean the vaccine didn't work? No, that's not what that means. Okay. That means that your body is just handling the reaction to the vaccine. We don't really know why some people are having reactions to the vaccine and why others aren't. There is some people who are suggesting that if you've been exposed to COVID and you've had COVID, your reaction might be more significant because your body is already mounting an immune response. So the message is the vaccine is totally safe. It has decreased the amount of severe illness and people needing to be hospitalized. It has decreased the amount of deaths as a result of COVID. So I'll be on the panel. I'm happy to answer any of your questions, but the main thrust is go out and get vaccinated so you continue to come in person. It's totally safe. Every single nursing student is fully vaccinated. We are on campus. We are in person. We are in the hospital taking care of patients. So come join us on campus.
Good afternoon again, everyone. So I am very honored to be on this panel with a number of professors in the natural sciences, and I'm actually learning a lot as well. But I'm here to speak to you about anxiety. We've heard a lot about our physical health, but we're going to talk about our mental health and how it can be affected and how you might be responding to the thought of getting vaccinated. So what exactly is anxiety? We've heard a lot of people talk about anxiety surrounding being vaccinated, et cetera. You can go to the next slide. So anxiety is a feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease, typically about an imminent event or something with an uncertain outcome. And I put that in bold because a lot of people who are on the fence or apprehensive about receiving the vaccination are concerned because they don't know what the outcome might be. A lot of people are thinking, well, you know, they came up with this vaccination pretty quickly, this vaccine pretty quickly. I'm not sure how it's going to affect us, but my presentation was preceded by a lot of facts, a lot of statistics that you can kind of put in your back pocket as you consider whether or not you're going to get vaccinated. So we understand that there might be some apprehension and you might be concerned, and what might that anxiety look like? It might look like avoidance altogether. You might avoid information about getting vaccinated. You might not open the emails that you receive from the school, etc. But what avoidance does when you're anxious is just make your anxiety worse. So in the moment, you're avoiding that thing that makes you anxious, but that's not addressing the concern. If you're not opening the emails, you're missing information, vital information that could be affecting your classes, etc. So I just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page as far as what anxiety is and as it relates to our mental health and the vaccine. You can go to the next slide. So what can we do about anxiety? We have an understanding about what anxiety is and how our anxiety might present when we're considering the possibility of being vaccinated. Well, here are some resources that I'd like to share with you. You can go to the next slide. So here is a resource that was shared recently by CUNY Central, the CUNY Mental Wellness Resources. If you go to this link, you can screenshot it if you want, or you can just Google it. I'm sure that many people have been frequenting the site so far. There are a lot of different resources, and mental wellness resources are not limited to individual therapy and talking to someone. Some of them might include the Calm app or meditation or things like that. There are different ways that you can address your anxiety about being vaccinated. You can go to the next slide. We also have campus resources, and the Wellness Center understands your concern, your reservations, and your apprehension about being vaccinated. And we have a lot of qualified staff who are willing to talk to you and hear you out and help you process some of the things that you're thinking about and some of the concerns that you might have. So here's the schedule for our wellness check-ins with the Wellness Center. Does this mean that you have to be an ongoing client or student in the Wellness Center? Absolutely not. These are just opportunities for our students to come, check in, and just share what they're experiencing. You'll have about 10 to 15 minutes with each counselor just to talk about your concerns. And you can come see us starting tomorrow. Well, not come see us, but in our virtual offices on October 6th, 7th, and 8th. And the Zoom links are there, and it will be shared with you in other ways as well. I know that Karen has the information, and it will be disseminated to the college community. So we hear you, and we hear you, we understand what your concerns might be, and know that there are professionals in the Wellness Center who are willing to help you process that anxiety and help you manage it as you consider being vaccinated. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, so give a couple of minutes for people to take a shot at this last slide. And I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. Paul, Dr. Acario.
Oh, Olga, are we going to Sherry Carr?
Oh, sorry. Yes, we are.
Professor Carr, sorry.
Thanks, Olga. Thanks, Paul. It's okay. So I'm Sherry. I introduced myself at the beginning. I'm a professional ethicist. I answer questions about what we should do, not what we actually do, right? That's for social sciences, but what we should do when we're guided by our highest ideals. I know a lot of people have concerns, particularly about this vaccine mandate. And so I'm just going to speak directly to that. So what do ethicists say about vaccination? You know, ethicists argue about pretty much everything, but this one is really straightforward, and everyone across the board seems to agree. We should all get vaccinated, and as quickly as possible. Why? There are lots of reasons, but to explain vaccine mandates, I'm just going to focus on one. That is because not doing so causes harm to others. Direct harm if you are the vector of someone else getting infected, and indirect harm if you are part of why we still need to maintain layers of protection even after a vaccine has been widely available for over 6 months. So many people are concerned about the protection of personal liberty, right? Why can't I decide that I don't want to do this? But ethicists have long established that one's own personal liberty stops at the point at which one causes harm to others. So your personal liberty can be limited so as to respect others' rights. Okay, so that explains why we have a vaccine mandate. No one wants to have mandates of any sort, but when people make choices that harm others, there are limits on those, and that's what the vaccine mandate is supposed to be doing, limiting what it is that we are able to do because we don't want to allow harm to other people. So I can talk more about this and other sort of ethical dilemmas that come up, but that's really the basis of why we have that vaccine mandate. Thanks.
Thank you. Is it over to me now, Olga? I think so. Thank you. Thank you, all the panelists. We have some questions that are coming in that I'm looking at. So I'm going to sort of group some of them together. One very quick one, and there's some more staff here. Somebody asked where they could see this since we're recording it. Gina, will it be on our website? Is that where we'll post it?
Yes, we'll host the recording of today's session on the college's YouTube channel. We'll share that with students via email, and we will post it on laguardia.edu/coronavirus.
Okay, thank you. One question, and when we're talking about the potential effects of the vaccine. So one question we have is, how do we know about the long-term effects if it has not been that long enough to know yet in terms of the vaccine?
So I'll answer that if it's okay, Paul.
Sure.
So we have seen some long-term effects, and by that we're talking about from the people who originally got COVID in the March of 2020. So far, they're not so significant. They have something called COVID toes, believe it or not, that you have a rash on your feet. Some people have a rash on their palms. There are some more significant, those elderly folks that did survive COVID and people who had pre-existing conditions have some respiratory issues related to COVID. I think that we are continuing to study the effects of long COVID. I think one of the ways to prevent long COVID is to become vaccinated, because those people who become vaccinated, even if they get COVID, they do not have significant disease and they get well very quickly. I believe there hasn't been much research or any documentation of vaccinated individuals getting long COVID. So it's really just another reason to get the vaccine. Long COVID comes from people unvaccinated who waited a long time before seeking medical care, and the disease had time to really replicate inside their body and attack their organs and cause these complications.
If I may add one thing.
You want
Paul?
to add? Yes, Lucia.
Yeah, it is true that the vaccine has only been given for the 1 year. So, but so far there are 3.6 billion people in the world that have been vaccinated. So that's a pretty good sample of people vaccinated. And as Professor Carson had mentioned before, the side effects are absolutely minimal. And when you consider the effects of COVID that are considerable, and that actually today there is a very large studies, particularly in Europe, looking at long COVID and the effects of long COVID. So having the disease, we do know what the long-term effects are, and not even long-term, but 1 year effects, or 1 year after the disease. So whenever you make a decision on your health, even if it's an individual decision, although again, this is a decision that is going to affect everyone, you think of where the greatest harm is, and definitely having COVID is, there's just no comparison comparing to the side effects that are minimal in terms of the vaccination. And yes, we don't know, like here to 10 years, but so far, as I said, there are no particularly damaging side effects.
Thank you. Any other comments on that? Clarence? I'm sorry.
Yes. Yeah, I just want to piggyback on my colleagues spoke about this. I often hear, the people saying, we haven't have a long-term history of this vaccine. How do we know it's safe? And it is true in terms of the time frame. But let's not forget, it's not just, people think that we started the vaccination, later last year, and it's really only talking about several months or less than a year. But it's not really true, because if you go back to the slide that we saw earlier, the vaccine has actually been tested on tremendous amount of individual, way into, the year once, last year when we first started the pandemic. So there are also a tremendous amount of people that have already received the vaccine even before it was approved and before it was widely available, worldwide. So the number is really, really significant, and the time frame, it's a lot longer than we believe. When a lot of time people think, oh, it's only been out for a couple of months, we can't trust it. But it's a lot more than just 6 months. So it's been really a long time coming.
Thank you, Clarence. A couple of other questions. There's a couple of them that I can answer kind of quickly. Someone asked about the HVAC systems. Yes, the college has upgraded the systems in all of the buildings to the proper MERV 13 standards. So that has been done. Someone also asked, why is LaGuardia the only school that's closed? Actually, we're not fully closed. We have classes that are running in person in a lot of the health areas. And also, once a class is completely vaccinated, we're running it in person. Some of the other, one of the problems is if you're going to mix unvaccinated and vaccinated students, then we are required to socially distance. Most of our rooms are not big enough to do that. Some campuses have some large lecture halls where they could do social distancing. So we have put safety first, your safety first. And that's why some of the classes that are scheduled to be in person or hybrid are still running online for the time being. So I just answer a couple of those quickly. There is several questions. I think, Renee, this will be more for you. A bunch of people, some with questions about uploading. I had my second shot, before the class started, but somehow posted a screenshot. Don't know if that's good. There's a lot of things about the uploading. So Renee, if folks are concerned about whether they can still upload, like somebody got a vaccination September 22nd, that's enough time. What should they do? And also Karen posted something in the chat for people to see, room C111. If you want to come in for help to upload, and there's a video. And Renee, do you want to address people who are having all these uploading issues?
Well, the uploading is actually quite simple. You would go to your CUNY First account, and there's a link there that says vaccination verification. And once you click on that, it'll give you step-by-steps of what you're supposed to do. You're going to input your 2 doses of your vaccine, and it's going to also ask you to attach the documentation. And we really recommend you attaching your CDC card. Make sure we can see it. People have attached stuff that has their fingers over the names and stuff. Some have been through the laundry and we can barely read it. We'll try our best. You can also upload your Excelsior Pass. And we do recommend if you have Excelsior Plus, because that gives us the full information. The regular Excelsior doesn't give all that information. And once you just submit that, you are put on a list in the CUNY First portal, and myself and other LVAs will look at that, make sure all the documents match, make sure the dates are matching, and we will hit approve, and you're good to go. You can always call the health center. I think our number might be posted in there, and we can definitely walk you through it. And as they mentioned, there are some labs available in the C building that can also help you load it, direct help to help you load it up.
Okay, thank you, Renee.
Mm-hmm.
Folks, it's people are in very different places and have very different opinions. There are some students who can't my teacher have the autonomy to keep the class online and not come in? Some other students are posting, but no, I want to come in. And I appreciate all of and understand the frustration that's there. Just so that the university rule is when you signed up for the class, if it said hybrid or inline, the university does not allow us to switch it to completely online. The professor cannot do that. So after October 21st, which is the deadline for people to be fully vaccinated, the faculty can start the in-person part. And the university rule is if you're scheduled to come to that in-person part and you're not vaccinated, you will be dropped from the class. That's the university rule. So that's why you want to definitely upload by October 7th. There's still time so that you don't get a withdrawal on the 21st. But we can't just switch the class. Some people said, what about the rest of the year? When you register for Fall 2, look in the schedule. There are lots of online classes. Some people said, well, do I have to come in person the rest of the year? There are still online classes. There's a lot of them in Fall 2. In spring one, there probably will be fewer. The university is asking us to consider to have about 70% in person, which still means there will be at least 30% online. So there are opportunities, but the university is not allowing the faculty to change the classes once they're set. So be careful, everything is labeled when you register. Let me see what else I can see here. Is the school providing a third round of shots? The school's not providing, that's the booster shot. The school itself is not providing shots, but we do have, Karen has posted where to get shots. There's a vaccination site. There's just a link that's put up there, especially if you want to get in the next 2 days, if you want to get that J&J shot, which will give you a chance not to be dropped this fall. Let me look through. There's a lot of questions coming up here. Let's see. What else I can do? Somebody says, what happens when my Vax Pass expires on December? I have Moderna. Am I able to go to school after December with no booster? We don't have a ruling yet on whether you will have to be fully vaccinated. Whether fully vaccinated will mean having a booster shot, I can ask the panelists, but I don't think there's any ruling on that yet. I don't think we know that.
No.
So that one more.
So I know in the Vax Pass, the Excelsior Pass, some of them initially when they had them were only good for 6 months. And then you had to kind of renew the app, and then it gave you to the year. So for right now, all the Excelsior passes expire on the year of the second dose. And the J&J, it's a year from the first dose that you got it. I do believe that that's going to, there's going to be more information on that coming out in the next couple of months, because the first round of shots was in December. So the second dose for anybody would have been January. So everyone has until January until we hear more news from the Department of Health.
Right, and thank you, Kathy. There are a number of students, as I said, who seem to prefer to want to stay online and not come in, and then there are some who really want to come in. And I understand a lot of comments. It's not fair because I got vaccinated and I want to attend in person. And I just have to say, as the provost of the college, of course I want to be fair, but to be honest with you, I have to put safety first. We can't safely mix the unvaccinated and vaccinated students in the spaces we have. I have to put your safety first. And I think that's the position that the college is taking. And I realize that can be very frustrating for you, but health and safety and human life is first. And that's so someone asked me to talk about that and respond about that. And that's really my response to that. And it's not perfect. We are in a pandemic. There's no playbook for this. This is something that no one has ever experienced, as you very well know. So it's not a perfect solution. Students were encouraged to switch early on. We've been communicating since May about this. And I do also realize, though, that there've been changes in dates and deadlines, and I realize it's been a challenge to keep up with all of the communications. I get it. So somebody said, for session 2, are the classes currently listed as online going to change to in-person? No. For session 2, what is listed as, we're not allowed to change it by the university. So for students, another question about underlying health conditions. So there is such a thing as a medical exemption. Renee, can you tell people what a medical exemption is?
Sure, medical exemption, and you would apply for it the same way that I mentioned how you would upload your vaccine information. There's a button there that you can click on a medical exemption, and a form will pop up, and you will fill out that form. You will be required to submit some medical documentation to support your request. It's then sent to Luz Royal, one of our other LVAs here in the health center, and she will walk you through those steps. We also work with our city doctor to look at those requests, and if you need that request, we will approve it.
Thank you, Renee.
Mhm.
Another one for you, Renee, because we're getting a lot of these kinds of questions. Someone says they already submitted vaccination proof for 2 shots into CUNY back in August. So I need to do something else in order to be able to attend in-person classes. Like I heard we have to show an access pass. I'm kind of confused.
I'm not sure if I'm understanding the question, but if you submitted 2 vaccines and you're past that 14-day period after the 2 vaccines, you're approved. From that approval, you should have been directed to get your, well, now it's the Clear 4 pass. And if you don't get that, just email us at the health center and we will help you get that.
Right, Karen, maybe, can we post an email address for the health center? We'll put that on the site for you. Okay, I'm trying, guys, to keep up with the questions here. Oh boy, some of these are pretty specific. Let's see. Is the Moderna group considered unvaccinated and unable to attend in-person classes? They're asking that because the immunity from Moderna lasts 6 months. Past those months, is the Moderna group considered unvaccinated?
That's not really true.
Right.
That's not a true statement.
Yeah, can you correct it, Kathy?
So nobody really knows how long the vaccines are good for. They do believe that the immunity starts to wane after 6 months, the people that they've tested, so that they are recommending the booster after 6 months. Now, the Moderna booster has not been approved yet. It has only been approved for those who are immunocompromised, those people who have cancer or HIV. The Pfizer vaccine has been approved for a 3rd dose of the booster. And just so we're clear, that 3rd dose is exactly the same as the 1st and 2nd dose. There is no different. You're just receiving a 3rd dose of the same thing that you received previous. Again, J&J has not approved their 2nd dose yet. So I'm not sure what they're saying about the Moderna. I'm not clear, but we don't know for sure that after 6 months, it is not still working. As a matter of fact, Moderna has the highest efficacy of any of the vaccines. So they seem to be lasting longer than even Pfizer.
Yeah, if I have any interest there, there's the studies. The Moderna is even in its after over 6 months, I think they're about 86% efficient.
Higher, yeah.
Which is very, very high for a vaccine. I know that we heard 95 and all this, but that was like extremely effective. So 86%, even 70% is still ineffective. So it's if obviously the antibody count does go down, but there are other measures of immunity that people are now looking at. And what it seems like it's at least going to last, if not more than a year, definitely for a year and over a year, but definitely at high levels for a year. So the 6 months is not based on the studies that have been done.
Yeah, and actually they gave, I got the Moderna vaccine and the 2nd dose, I got it in March and it's valid until next year. So you can say that is about a year.
More, to be honest, they're only anticipating a year because they're kind of making it like the flu shot. And if people have gotten the flu shot before, then they have received a SARS vaccine, because H1N1 is a SARS virus, just like COVID is a SARS virus, and that is in the annual flu shot, right? So if you've had a flu shot, you have been exposed to a SARS vaccine in the past. The other thing is that they don't know. they don't know how long it's going to last. They anticipate that some people could get multiple years from the vaccines that they received. So because it's a novel virus, and the definition of novel is that it's something new, we continue to get new information about it, but they feel confident in saying that it's good for a year, even though it might start waning after 6 months. And that's why they approved the booster. They really approved the booster because there's so many people who are unvaccinated still.
And I just want to add one thing that it's important. These are emergent infectious diseases, and they tend to mutate constantly. As we know, we have different variants. And for some of these diseases that are viral diseases, the only way that we have of sort of treating them is prevention. There are no cures. There are no cures because they constantly mutate. And so it's like with the influenza shot, with the flu shot, we need to get it every year because these viruses recombinate and they mutate every year. So we get a different type of virus or different strain of that virus every year. And that's why we have to get the flu shot every year. And eventually this is probably going to turn sort of like endemic, like the influenza virus. Please remember, this pandemic has killed more people in the United States than what was killed during the 1918 pandemic. We already passed that threshold. So please try to get your vaccine.
Okay, thank you. Somebody else is asking, when will we start in-person classes? So after October 21st, a couple of days after that, because the unvaccinated students will not be able to continue, in-person classes will be starting. Although to tell you, actually I get information every day for every class, how many people are vaccinated. We have some classes where 100% of the students are vaccinated and they already started in person.
Yes, we've done that.
Yes, you've done that. And also not only in health, in other areas as well. But
Absolutely.
shortly after the 21st is a Thursday, my guess is probably that Monday, most of the classes will be starting back. A couple of questions about people who are getting a second dose after the 7th. Please go and upload. If we see that you're uploading something in the system, Renee, people can upload a first shot, right? Or can they?
This is one of those things where it keeps changing. So it appears that you can upload the first shot, but I would just try it. Hopefully they will take the first shot.
So if you think you're not gonna, if you're scheduled like for the 8th or the 9th or the 10th, I mean, we really want you to get it by the 7th, but some people told me they have it scheduled after that. Upload that first shot. We'll look at your case-by-case basis, or you have that email for the health center. Contact the health center because, we'll look at that on a case-by-case basis. Let's see, we're about out of time. Let me see, Gina, if we wanted to, there's only a few more questions. Do we have people's emails? Can we answer those questions afterwards offline, or no? We can't reach people. I don't know if people didn't register, right?
No, if there's any unanswered questions, we can include those in an FAQ when we send out the recording to all students. So we'll try to answer anything that we did not get to during today's session.
Okay, very good. We'll get, so that's how we'll be able to get some of those. Some of these are very kind of specific. Somebody asked about religious belief. Just as you can apply for medical exemption, you can apply for a religious exemption. That's an application. Whether or not it gets approved, it will depend, but you can do that the same way where you apply through the health center. There's a medical exception and religious exemption that you can apply for. So those are there. So I think we got a lot of these. We'll put the rest in an FAQ for you. I want to really thank all of the students for coming and joining us and asking your questions. And I certainly want to thank all of the panelists and staff and everybody who's here to help answer your questions. Get vaccinated. We want to see you in person. Okay. Thank you all so much. Take care.